Welcome to another episode of Mastering Cybersecurity, developed by baremetalcyber.com. Let's dive in. Attackers lean on predictable human tendencies that help us move quickly through busy days, which can be redirected toward harmful decisions. Urgency pressures people to act before thinking, while authority leverages titles and logos to shut down healthy questions during stressful moments. Fear pushes someone to avoid imagined consequences, and curiosity invites a click that promises news, opportunity, or rewards without much scrutiny. Social proof suggests everyone else already complied, while familiarity imitates the voice, style, or timing of a known coworker or vendor. These shortcuts normally make life easier, but in a crafted message, they become rails that guide actions toward the attacker's preferred outcome. Understanding these levers helps people pause, reframe the moment, and check whether the request actually makes sense. Before the first message appears, many adversaries perform quiet research to build a believable story, which professionals call reconnaissance. Public company pages reveal executive names, office locations, vendor relationships, and upcoming events that can anchor a convincing pretext. Job postings routinely list tools and terminology, which can be echoed back to sound authentic during emails or calls that request access or approvals. Social platforms often reveal organizational changes, travel, or workload surges that can justify unusual requests with just enough specificity to disarm skepticism. Even small details, like a meeting title or a formatting quirk in signatures, can make a fabricated request feel normal to hurried readers. When a message mirrors daily patterns, recipients fill in the gaps with trust, which is the precise moment manipulation becomes effective. Email remains the widest doorway because phishers can cheaply copy branding, tone, and timing, which creates messages that blend into overflowing inboxes. Traditional phishing uses broad bait, while spear phishing narrows the target to a person or team using details gathered during reconnaissance for higher credibility. Whaling focuses on senior leaders whose approvals unlock payments, sensitive data, or access, making even one success disproportionately valuable. Malicious emails often share traits such as mismatched display names and domains, vague greetings, unexpected attachments, or links masked behind shorteners that hide their true destinations. Personalization increases pressure because the message seems to reference projects, vendors, or meetings that the recipient actually recognizes from recent calendars. When email requests pair urgency with plausible context, people feel nudged to act quickly, which is exactly what the attacker designed. Phone and text channels carry the same tricks, but the pace of conversation reduces time to think, which strengthens the attacker's advantage. Voice phishing, often called vishing, may combine caller identification spoofing and polished scripts to steer targets through yes or no prompts that feel harmless but authorize serious actions. Text-based scams, sometimes called smishing, exploit short message service, SMS, urgency because people treat brief messages as routine confirmations that deserve fast responses. Some campaigns now add simple voice cloning to imitate a colleague or relative using short samples, which can sound remarkably convincing over low-quality connections. Attackers know that real service desks and banks sometimes call back, which makes the approach feel normal and undeserving of extra scrutiny. Slowing the tempo, calling a known number, and checking records independently diffuses much of this pressure. Not every ploy lives on screens, because in-person tactics exploit politeness, routine, and environmental trust that offices naturally cultivate. Tailgating relies on someone holding a door for a person carrying packages, while a confident stride and a clipboard can grant temporary authority that few people question. Fake badges or branded clothing reinforce legitimacy, especially during busy hours when staff prioritize throughput over verification. Baiting places labeled Universal Serial Bus (USB) devices where curiosity or helpfulness encourages someone to plug them into a workstation, which can deliver malware within seconds. Even simple behaviors, like setting up near a printer or joining a small group on a smoke break, can collect names, roles, and floor layouts that aid later attacks. Physical awareness, paired with clear visitor procedures, protects spaces just as passwords protect systems. Across channels, several practical warning signs repeat themselves, which gives beginners a reliable starting checklist for everyday screening. Messages from unusual senders, mismatched domains, or display names that do not align with addresses demand extra care before any click or reply. Tone shifts, spelling changes, or odd phrasing from familiar contacts suggest an impersonation or a compromised account attempting quiet lateral movement. Requests that change payment instructions, push for gift cards, or demand secrecy should always be confirmed through a second channel that uses a known good number. Shortened links and unexpected attachments deserve isolation until verified, because they hide destinations and can execute code that is difficult to spot beforehand. When two or more of these signs appear together, the safest assumption is caution until independent confirmation resolves the doubt.
Personal safety improves most when small behaviors become automatic, because habits protect even on busy days when attention runs thin. Slow every unexpected request by counting to 10 while considering whether the request makes sense for the sender and the moment. Verify using a second channel, such as calling a known number from a directory, which breaks the attacker's control of the conversation and time frame. Preview links, avoid entering credentials after clicking an embedded prompt, and use a password manager so fake sites cannot capture reused secrets. Enable MFA wherever available, and limit public details that aid pretexts, including travel photos during ongoing trips and posts about tools or approvals. These actions require little technical background, yet they close the most common doors social engineers prefer, which is exactly the point.
Organizations can reduce risk by designing systems that assume some messages will fool someone, which shifts focus from blame to resilience. Least privilege limits the blast radius when a single account is misled, while strong change control for payments ensures multiple independent checks before money moves. Vendor verification callbacks that use known numbers stop invoice redirection scams because the attacker cannot control the out-of-band conversation. Email protections like Sender Policy Framework, SPF, Domain Keys Identified Mail, DKIM, and Domain-Based Message Authentication, Reporting, and Conformance, DMARC, help mail systems detect spoofing and tampering, though none are perfect. Clear reporting channels, simple playbooks, and practice drills shorten response times when someone notices a suspicious request during regular work. When controls anticipate human error and build in graceful catches, one mistake rarely becomes a major incident. Awareness efforts work best when practical, respectful, and frequent enough to stay fresh without becoming noise that people ignore. Short refreshers that spotlight new scams teach pattern recognition, while realistic simulations help staff experience pressure safely and practice the pause that protects. A no-shame reporting culture encourages early escalation, which often prevents single missteps from turning into costly outcomes across teams and vendors. Training should also teach exactly how to report, including the address, the button, or the ticket category, so help arrives quickly during stressful moments. Leaders can model desired behavior by reporting their own suspicious messages and praising cautious skepticism that avoids risky shortcuts under deadline. When organizations treat every report as valuable signal rather than blame, more eyes look for trouble and find it sooner. When a social engineering attempt is suspected, the most helpful response is calm documentation and quick notification rather than private troubleshooting. Stop interacting with the sender, capture evidence like headers, numbers, screenshots, and timestamps, and forward the package using the defined internal channel. If credentials may be exposed, reset passwords and revoke sessions, and if MFA devices may be compromised, remove them and re-enroll using verified procedures. Payment redirection attempts call for immediate vendor callbacks and holds, while legal or regulatory notifications might be required depending on data type and jurisdiction. Security teams can then search logs, quarantine messages, tune mail defenses, and brief support staff about the active pretext so others recognize it immediately. Treating suspected attempts as shared operational events improves detection, limits spread, and sharpens defenses for the next round. A brief case study shows how the chain forms and where it can be broken, which makes abstract warnings more concrete for beginners. An attacker notices on social media that the finance lead is traveling and a product launch is near, then drafts an email that mirrors internal formatting and references real vendor names. The message requests an urgent invoice change attached to a short link, followed by a confirming call that uses caller identification spoofing and the correct pronunciation of names learned from recordings. A cautious clerk sees the urgency and vendor familiarity, yet calls the vendor's known number, which reveals the change request is fake and triggers an internal alert. The security team quarantines matching emails, informs accounts payable, and shares a short lesson that names the red flags and the saving verification step. The practical lessons are simple. Verify money movements out of band, distrust urgency tied to secrecy, and keep vendor records that include reliable callback details. Social engineering ultimately targets people who are trying to be helpful, efficient, and polite, which is why the best defenses center on people as well. The pattern rarely changes: a believable story, a pressured moment, and a request that benefits from skipping verification, which means recognizing the pattern is half the defense. Small pauses, second-channel checks, and limited privileges catch many attempts before they cause lasting harm, because they interrupt the scripted pace. Technical controls add friction that exposes fakes, while respectful training and easy reporting build a culture where asking a simple confirming question is always acceptable. Keep the lasting idea clear and actionable every day. Verify before trust, and let verification take the time it needs to be sure. With that mindset, ordinary routines become safer without requiring advanced tools or specialized expertise. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.